comic book fans? I'm Dinosaur Neil.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And together, our powers wane, but we strike back to fight against intergalactic evil as Imperius Rex.
God, we did do all that.
Yes, we did.
We've had a little bit of a break.
Yep.
That's what we were doing.
Exactly.
Fighting evil.
Yes.
Powers wane, not all the way, just a little
just
bit.
a little bit.
We got a whole team together.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't make it.
No.
But we're back.
Yes.
And coming up very soon, we're opening the doors to our Invisible College, the new book club that we're going to be doing, tackling Grant Morrison's epic tome, The Invisibles.
Yes.
And to get that Morrison train a-chugging, I thought, what better time than now to take a look at their most recent and quite possibly last endeavor with DC Comics, Superman and the Authority.
Yes.
Question for you, Neil.
Yes, sir.
How do you get Grant Morrison to write a comic for you?
I would assume you ask him.
No.
Shit.
What you gotta do is you trick them into thinking that you're going to destroy their favorite character, and then you force them to write a different story. Which is how this came to be.
Good Lord!
Apparently around 2020, maybe a little before, DC was pitching this fever dream that they were calling the 5G. Not a cellular thing. Just some sort of future storyline in which all the characters were going to age in real time, and the popular characters were going to hand off their legacy to the younger group. Superman was one of these, and Dan Didio, the editor of DC at that time, sat Morrison down and said, the way I'm picturing this, is how he talks. He's from New York. He's a big New Yorker.
Yeah.
Superman is going to turn into a authoritarian ruler who is going to implement his rule with an iron fist. He's
Interesting.
Like, what do you think, Grant? And Grant was just shocked out of their skin.
How could you do it?
Yeah. That's not what Superman's about.
Yeah.
Superman's one of the good guys.
Didn't they do Injustice already?
Right. So Grant sat down. He's like, okay, one more time into the fray. Write this book for you, but only to stop you from ruining the character.
Good Lord.
No idea if DC was actually going to do that. But they got their way and had Grant write a send-off here for Superman. And then the whole 5G thing folded. Poor connection. And they ended up keeping a couple ideas and then wrapping this kickoff into the ongoing Action Comics run, which I've heard is decent, but no Grant, no care.
Yeah.
I didn't read it.
Yeah.
I was intrigued, though, by the end of this.
I will say.
So that's the long and short of it. That's how this book came to be.
That is very interesting. Poor Grant having to dig them all out of the mud hole, get them out of the pits again.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And apparently, like, they were done with superhero comics. It just kind of got, like, a little bit of that Alan Moore cynicism, I think, started to soak into their relatively always cheery demeanor.
Yeah.
And I think Grant was just like, I think I've said everything I can say with it, and I've kind of been screwed over by the publisher enough that I'm kind of done. Kind of done.
Got it. Now knowing that, this is news to me coming in, so I want to read this again just to see if that goes into Manchester Black at all.
Oh, yeah.
I bet it does now that I'm talking about it, because he's hot through some of this.
He is hot.
That'd just be interesting with that lens to focus on some of that.
Yeah, and not to get too ahead of ourselves, but Superman takes the path that Grant has paved at the end of this book.
Yeah.
In a manner of speaking. We'll get there.
Ooh.
We should probably play our theme music.
Yeah.
So this 4-issue miniseries, written by Grant Morrison, featuring artwork by MacLeod.
Looks great.
Yeah, familiar with their work from Tom King's Batman, among other things. And then there's some other guest artists as well that do a bang-up job.
Oh, yeah.
They usually appear as the team is rounded together. They all get their little introductory vignettes.
Yeah.
But overall, it flows pretty well, and it feels like a pretty comprehensive piece.
I'll say, very cohesive look.
Mm-hmm. So this book kicks off with Superman meeting good old JFK.
Yeah.
And JFK just asking him, like, can you save the world? Like, you seem like a good guy.
You're better than all of us.
Yeah, can you help lead us into tomorrow? And Superman is like, of course I can. I'm Superman, Mr. President. Then he goes to the moon to help them with some moon athletics.
Yeah.
And while he's away, JFK is murdered.
Yep.
And in Superman's rationale, everything kind of went downhill after that. Assassinations, wars, everything. That was kind of the turning point. And he's been around the block enough that he's decided, we need to fix things.
Yeah.
It's gotten away from us. All of us heroes were caught up in our own crises and personal problems. We haven't been focusing on making the world better.
True.
And that's what he wants to do. So he gets the proverbial team together.
God, does he ever. Speaking of Superman, Grant writes perfect Superman.
Oh my
It's
God.
just, it's like he is the most uplifting, just noble, charming guy you've
so
ever
classy.
seen. He knows he's on the rope, so essentially Superman is losing his powers,
his
essentially.
super abilities.
His super abilities. So
I don't know if this happened before this, but it never really goes into why.
no, it's just he's
Unimportant.
He's got the gray temples, but he still looks like John Hamm great. So he's not that old, but he doesn't seem that old. I don't know what Kryptonians look like.
I think he's like father-aged, kind of dad Superman.
Right.
Has a very Tom Strong look to
Very
him.
Tom Strong.
He's got the t-shirt, the gloves, and the Kingdom Come black S, which is striking.
Very good.
And no cape.
No cape. Just weighs him down. He's getting too old for this shit.
He can't get a good comfy sit with. He's got to be pulling his
tugging on it and shit. Yeah, none of that.
No.
It's entitled Superman and the Authority. But the first character that he's like, I'm gonna bring you on, is Manchester Black.
Known from the Authority facsimile team, the Elite.
The Elite, yeah.
It's like a parody of the Authority in Superman comics.
Correct. Weird choice to go through first, but he has like his own logic and reasoning behind it. It's so cool because Manchester Black comes off, he's like, I don't want anything to do with you. You suck. Like, why you... Like, I'm the worst. Like, how can you have hope in me? And, like, he just tells him how it is. He just convinces him, like, you can do good. I know you've got it in you kind of thing. It's just like, wow! It's easy!
They almost, like, kind of complete each other in a yin-yang form because Manchester Black's powers are all telekinetic, telepathic, and mind-focused, while Superman is all strength and might.
As he invents robots and shit.
Right, he's also got the robot game down pat. But they also, like, the just unshakable optimism versus the rampant pessimism.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of even each other out, so to speak.
It's
and
very
Superman eventually kind of, like, gets to Manchester and turns him around a bit, or as much as he can.
Exactly.
He's also a total piece of shit, but...
But he lets Manchester pick his team, too.
Right.
Like, essentially everybody but one person on the team was picked by Manchester Black, of all people.
Yes. The only members of the actual Authority... The only members of the Authority that anyone really cares about. And that's Midnighter and Apollo.
Absolutely.
And they are the standard Apollo and Midnighter team.
Yep.
Right down to your first introduction with Midnighter, and he spouts his usual line of, like, I've already anticipated every move that you're gonna make. God, I hate that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping they shine a light on that because it's so ridiculous.
Absolutely. But you got Apollo on the other side, just be like, honey, you don't need to, like, be all machismo.
Yeah.
Like,
good guy.
Yeah.
And their little vignette is a very, like, gritty, future tech Warren Ellis inspired action sequence that they're involved in, very reminiscent of the original Authority. So they're brought in purely because Apollo is a huge Superman fan. Just how could they say no?
On that point alone, almost everyone joins because they're like, you get to be a Superman. They're like, oh, why would you say no to that? That sounds awesome.
Manchester Black's like, he ain't so fucking cool. He's rolling his cigarettes.
Yeah. You're a turd, Black. Golly.
Oh, there is another person they recruit before Midnighter and Apollo, and it is Nat Steele.
Yeah.
The daughter of Steel. So she's like a third generation legacy Superman character.
Yeah.
And her portion is a short story where she fights the internet-made Manifest.
Yeah.
And I thought this was just amazing in pure Grant Morrison, parodying everything going on online.
So this is the one part where I read it pretty much twice all the way through. Because at first I was like, what on earth is she talking? Like, what is she saying? And then once you realize, like, Grant Morrison's writing this, and she's, like, fighting literal, like, trolls.
Yeah.
Body-shaming trolls.
Yes. And some of the random sound bites that they're spewing are, funny, no one remembers COVID 1 through 18.
Yeah.
And the edgelords, which end up being self-conscious AI that learn their habits from us as internet users.
Much like AI is doing right now currently.
And she smashes or talks them out of everything.
Yeah, I had a hard time, like, I'm not entirely sure, like, what her powers are, or, like, she's just like another Iron Man.
Cybernetics.
Cybernetics, but it's like, I was like, is she actually doing this, or is she doing this online? Like, I couldn't tell. Doesn't matter.
Unimportant. Another character they recruit, Enchantress.
Yeah.
A character that I know very little about outside of, like, relatively
Suicide
terrible
Squad.
TV and movie appearances.
Yeah.
And they rescue her from, like, her own personal hell that she's created because she has, like, the warring factions of her personality.
Right.
A theme in many of Grant's works.
Very good. I love the subject matter of this one, too, and how it was tackled about how June Moon and the Enchantress are... She's like, we're different. And then all they had to do was make her realize that, no, you're the same person.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to, like,
you're
live
better
with
together.
Yeah, you're better together. You just have to live with, like, your consequences and shit like that. It was great.
Yes, and in that scenario, her fiance sacrifices her to a satanic lord named
I couldn't pronounce
Dizamor.
Yeah.
And there's a great moment where Superman and the team come to her rescue, and they're fighting this demon. And Superman's like, good will always prevail. And the demon's like, good. When my cult spreads, the entire concept of good will be obliterated from creation. I will know satisfaction at last. Superman's...
So you'll feel good?
Yeah. Let me get this straight. When you've eliminated all good in the universe, you'll feel... good? Wow.
He just brain farts essentially. Oh, no.
And that is essentially how he's defeated. Mental checkmate.
Yep.
There's also an amazing moment right at the end of, I think, issue 2. It's a cliffhanger. One of the best Superman lines. June says, it's my fault, everything's my fault. And Superman, in his classic Superman way, says, none of that matters. Take my hand. We're here to get you out. Classic Superman.
God, he's so heroic. He's just there.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's another great moment, I think, in that same part where Natalie Steele's saying, like, oh my god, this is awful, it's inescapable. And he goes, inescapable? We don't use words like that.
Yeah, he is so golden age in how he talks. I love it.
But yet he also has moments of modern age, because when he goes to recruit Manchester Black, he arrives amidst a flurry of police officers. And he says, I'll take over now, gentlemen. Ladies, others.
Yeah.
He covers all the bases.
Knows. Yeah. He stays up to date. He's great.
Yep. And then rounding out the team is Light Ray and Mac. Two characters I know nothing about whatsoever.
Born on Mars. That's
one of them is born on Mars. Yeah. The other one is the partner who identifies as trans mask and is in the OMAC suit.
Yeah.
Which is another character I know nothing about.
Yeah.
I think they're both Kirby creations, but this is a updated spin on both of them.
Right.
And as it turns out, Light Ray seemed like she was going to be pretty prevalent, and I didn't quite get that out of this. I don't know what like the end game with her character was, because it doesn't really seem like it has one in this.
Not in this. It sounds like Superman is making her out to be the most important element to whatever they're going to do after this book.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Once they've got the team, we realize that the villain that is kind of working behind the scenes is the character Ultra Humanite.
Yeah.
What's this all about?
He's Superman's first supervillain.
Action Comics 13. Back from 1939.
Incredible.
Still kicking.
Yeah. He's essentially like a monkey that like transplants his brain into different bodies to his goal is to get Superman's body to put his brain into and squish Superman's brain.
My God, little does he know, Superman's body's petering out. He should have done a little more research.
That's kind of what I found very funny too, because at first you also think that maybe Brainiac's got something going on.
As it turns out, he does.
He does, yes. But yeah, Ultra Humanite is kind of like the main big bad, I guess, of this, and it's
through the majority of this book, he's in the body of Solomon Grundy.
Yeah.
Where I love...
the introduction? Okay, very good.
Laughing at the same thing, how he broke into the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah. Superman's walking down a hallway, he's like, so I've cataloged and made these statues of all my favorite villains. And then as he walks by, he's like, I don't remember making a Solomon Grundy. Boom!
Yes. Love that there's also just a big enough space between them for him to just go in and just not look out of place at all.
Exactly.
Gets one over on him pretty good there.
Oh, does he ever? Yeah. And I just love that he has like 6 stuffed mannequins of his greatest villains just standing in a random hallway.
Look back at the good times.
Yeah,
exactly. Felt like a real Looney Tunes game.
It really was. It was classic.
Eventually, Superman is able to get the upper hand, and with the help of Lois, they blast him with something that defeats him, weakens him, and Superman rips his head off.
You won't feel a thing, Mr. Grundy.
Yes, it'll grow back. Yeah, I guess since it's Grundy, he's like, oh, he'll be fine. He regrows heads all the time. Yeah. And then we find out that it is Brainiac kind of behind this whole thing. And Brainiac's mission here is that he's acknowledged that the Earth is dying, and he wants to like catalog and preserve it, just like the Glass City of Kandor. And I think this was Grant's dig at DC editorial and the status quo, and just like, you don't want anything new. You don't want any change. You don't want Superman to grow old. You just want everything to be preserved just as it is.
Wow.
And Brainiac and Ultra Human are like, all right, well, that may be, but we'll... And Superman's just like, no, fuck off. I'm done. I'm leaving. And he just fucking leaves.
Yeah. And it's funny because then it just leaves Brainiac to stand there like, huh.
He took himself off the board.
Yeah.
Like, what a mic drop for Grant there. He's just like, I'm done, guys.
Yeah. But he's got a master plan. Like, he's not leaving for no reason. He's gotten this team together for a good reason. He's going to go solve, like, the biggest problem he's ever had before. And I'm like, my first thing to that was like, that's really bold of you to do as you're the weakest you've ever been kind of a thing. And you've got, like, the weirdest team ever, I guess. But, hey, they're trying to make the teamwork happen, you know? And
that's right. You know? And it's a bunch of former team players that all just massacre their enemies.
Yeah.
And Superman even says, like, your problem is you're all very powerful and intelligent, but you don't leave your villains alive long enough to learn a lesson. So it's like, your powers are great. They're essentially replicating all of Superman's abilities through various channels.
Right.
But he's like, you just gotta learn to work together and not murder everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna teach you how not to kill.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go to War World. We're gonna overthrow a tyrant dictator.
Let's do it.
As humanely as possible. But I think that was also just kind of like the metaphor for, like, we can't make any changes on Earth. Everything just has to be status quo.
Yeah.
If you acknowledge, like, hey, let's overthrow this dictator, it's like, well, how come you're not, like, solving world hunger or something? So it's like, we're just gonna go somewhere else, and we're gonna do all the stuff that should probably be taking place on Earth. Because there we can make a change.
Right.
And that's what they do.
Yep, exactly. Right before, they depart, they do have a fun little, like, battle to see how the team all works together. Yeah. They've got, one team going over here doing this, and
they fight, like, an evil authority.
Exactly.
There's a lot of dichotomy, as we've said.
Exactly.
One of them's, like, just a big angry Nazi.
Yeah, and
gets his head kicked off and fucking balls smashed.
That was pretty good. It's the scene of Midnighter lining up to punt Iron Cross's head off.
Yeah.
Pretty good. One of them, like Cold Cast from the Elite was in it.
Yep.
And what's funny is like now he's carrying around this Nazi's head. He's like, I didn't know there were going to be Nazis on this team.
I'm a black guy. I didn't know there was going to be Nazis. Yeah. I'll make my public statement after.
Yeah, it was pretty good stuff.
Apparently, in the initial draft of this, Grant said that the villain was not going to be Brainiac. It was going to be an evil version of Superman. Who's going to be like a hard right-wing Superman, kind of like what they initially want him to be.
Okay.
And the team was going to be the original Authority, like the Warren Ellis Authority. And except for Apollo and Midnighter, because they're on Superman's Authority, in their place it was going to be Damian Wayne and John Kent.
What? Okay.
So I'm like, well, that is a very interesting concept, but like, how could you just throw that in like the last 7 pages of a 4-issue miniseries and have it work? So, interesting idea. Kind of glad they didn't go that route. Instead, we got kind of this, nobody cast of villains, but better to kick their heads off.
Yeah, exactly. It was more fun that way.
So yeah, that is essentially where it ends. They head off into War World, and I don't know what happens after that. So tell us, is it worth reading?
Exactly. We want to hit the big beats as they happen.
Get the big beats.
Yeah.
Grant left me wanting more.
Oh my god. This was a good precursor to read before we dip our toes into
something much headier.
Much headier. So it's good to get in a Grant mind space.
Very much, yeah. So all in all, a pretty fun farewell to Grant's stay at DC. Can't help but feel it was a little truncated and really left me wanting more, though. That's a problem. I think they treated it just as a setup and a handoff. Yeah. Where it's like, fuck, well, all right, but are you going to get it handed back to you? Yeah. Guess not. But it was a good way for Grant to pass the torch and also write, like, their final Superman story, I guess. He's an older man now, and Grant's written a young Superman with the New 52 Action Comics. Yeah. And, like, the traditional classic All-Star Superman. So, I guess it feels complete that this was their last work with DC. Yeah. Kind of handing it off to a new generation. I was reading Grant's Substack, where they went into a lot of depth on this. And the thing that stuck out to me as just kind of a sad, bittersweet way of looking at this was Grant said, younger creators who had grown up absorbing the lessons of my work were rendering me obsolete or refining my approach into an easily reproducible house style. Oof. So that was just like, I guess I've said all I need to say and closed the door as they left.
Wild that they think that way too, because I wouldn't, as someone from the outside, I wouldn't say anything like that.
I know.
But I mean,
Grant knows Grant.
Exactly.
Anything more to add on Superman the Authority?
No.
Excited to see the Authority in the cinematic universe?
Yes, actually very much so, especially if we have James Gunn at the horn of that. I think he can treat that with the reverence that he's got going on that we've seen him put into like Suicide Squad, Guardians. I think
he'll balance the edginess of it with a much needed humor and kind of taking the piss out of them that it deserves.
Absolutely.
And I think it could be a real big thing. Yeah. That most of the general audience probably has no idea what they're in for. Exactly. And that they're probably really going to like it.
I would think so too.
Yeah. So, I think that's that. We will close the book on this portion of Grant's career. Yes. And we will open a much larger book on something else entirely.
Yes.
So, stay tuned because next episode will be First Day of Class, Session 1, Volume 1, The Invisibles.
Oh my god. Get ready for it. Get brushed up on the books. But until next time, I've been Dinosaur Neil.
Big swallow there.
Ooh!
And I've been Ghost Hunter Dave.
Together we are IMPERIUS REX. Have a great day.
Stay super.